Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. I got Mr. NiNi here with me today, who's being a good little boy, mostly. And today we're going to be looking at the Druid Summoning Tree ability, known as Raven. So Raven got a pretty big buff lately, and as you can see at level 39, it's dishing out a pretty massive 3,222 to 3,550 damage per hit. We can also summon a maximum of 5 of these ravens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And basically what these ravens do is they just kind of fly around you in a circle, and they act as a sort of a defensive screen against monsters that are coming in. Any monster that comes in is going to get hit by these ravens, and the ravens themselves are rather incorporeal. What I mean by that is they cannot be attacked by anything. They are not affected by auras. They do not really get attacked. It's just in general they're just kind of like not there, except for the fact that they're dishing out damage. They specifically aim for the eyes, as you can see. Summon ravens to peck out the eyes of your enemies. Maximum level reached. Mana cost per cast is relatively low at 6 per raven. And as you can see, they also get a pretty massive attack rating bonus, which hopefully will help them hit. I had always thought that ravens didn't need attack rating, that they were guaranteed hits, but I guess not. At max level, you can see they have 50 hits total, which is a lot of damage. And if you take them out into the wilds and you let them do their thing, they will show you kind of what they're made out of. And just taking them out is pretty impressive as they run around pretty much murdering everything. They also got AI buffs, which help them to attack more often. But as you notice, they don't really help to protect me specifically. They don't stop the enemies from attacking me. However, when the enemies are blinded, the monster can no longer attack me. That blinding effect does actually overwrite curses, so do be aware of that. So if you're running like Amplify Damage or Decryptify or something like that, when they get a blinding effect, that will overwrite the blinding effect. And the blinding effect will overwrite the curse, vice versa. Now, the Ravens got damage buff in the form of Synergies from Summon Spirit Wolf, Summon Dire Wolf, and Summon Grizzly. So as you beef up the summons to their maximum, they will also in turn beef up the Ravens even further, which is definitely very nice. There are quite a few items in the game that actually have some pretty nice bonuses to Ravens. One of them specifically is the helmet, the Raven Lore, which the Raven Lore actually has +7 to Ravens, which could be interesting if you were trying to build specifically the highest Ravens that you could possibly get. Raven Lore is a very interesting, unique item, which, let me pull this up real quick, because I always like to pull these up during the videos. So for a total of, it's a +3 elemental skills with +7 Raven, so it's just +7 to Raven. But it's going to be a lot more than you're going to be able to get anywhere else. Even if you had a +2 pelt with +3 Ravens on it, that would only be +5. So you do get a pretty massive Raven bonus from the Raven Lore Sky Spirit. Ravens are interesting, and I do think that they can work their way into just about any build, even at relatively low levels. The blinding effect can be useful. I mean, let's say you are a Hurricane Druid, a Fire Volcano or Armageddon Druid. Maybe you are a Werewolf Druid who's using Rabies or Fury. Maybe you're a Bear Druid that's using Maul and Shockwave. Maybe you're not even planning to build any specific build, and you've got some sort of hybrid in mind. Having at least like 5 ravens that can run around and blind things as you're running around doing your work can definitely be very useful. And when used in tandem with other abilities, I just feel like they're fun little dudes to have around that kind of got your back. Especially when they attack ranged monsters. I notice that's where things really get interesting, is that ranged monsters can, of course, have a huge effect from the blind. Melee monsters, if you have a monster that's blinded in melee while you're meleeing them, they'll still attack you because you're still close enough for them to kind of like feel around and find you, right? But if a raven blinds a ranged monster who's shooting arrows at you or something like that, that monster is essentially just done until the blind effect wears off, which is very interesting. And I think I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about with this with these ravens. The number of hits and the amount of damage that they dish out. So let's calculate out their damage real quick right now at level 39. I feel like that's a good use of our time. So we've got 3,222 plus 3,550, which gives us 6,772. And then we divide that by 2, which is going to give us the average of 3,386 damage per hit. Then we're going to multiply that by 5, which is a total damage of 16,930. And then we're going to multiply that by 50 hits, which is the total number of hits that they can do before they need to be recast, which is 846,500 damage before they need to be recast, which is very nice. You can, of course, buff up their damage because their damage is physical if you use Amplify Damage or Decrepify. Amplify Damage or Decrepify will buff them up because their damage is physical in the way that it will reduce the resistance of the monster that you're fighting, which is interesting. So if you were to have Amplify Damage up or a constant Decrepify source, you could potentially multiply this number out even further. So 846,500, let's say, times 2 if you had Amplify Damage, which would be 1,693,000 damage. Now, keep in mind that you'd have to keep that Amplify Damage up pretty consistently because, of course, they would be overriding it with the blind as they attacked whenever the blind procs. Now, granted, that's over the entire course of the Raven's life, when realistically their damage is going to be more like this. 16,930 per rotation, so 16,930 times 2 with Amplify Damage, so about 33,876 per rotation, basically assuming every single Raven hits at least one time per rotation, which is not bad. It's not a bad amount of damage at all, and fully buffed up, they can be pretty impressive little monsters. They're also kind of mesmerizing to watch as they fly around.
Welcome.
Especially when they all start lining up in the same, like they start flying together in like these little flock packs. I don't even know how to put it. Let me see if I can get them in one of these little packs. Yeah, there you go. Look, they're all together now, or at least 3 of them are together. There's no duration on the Ravens, by the way, so when you cast them, they last pretty much forever until they run out of hits. So unless they run out of hits, they're going to be with you for quite some time. And this is one of the reasons why it's super easy to put 1 point. Even if you're not going to be a summon druid, 1 point in Ravens is very, very easy to do, and you can let your plus to skills take it from there. Let's take this particular character, for instance. Let's go ahead and put enough strength in so I can wear my equipment. And then let's put 1 point into Raven. So with 1 point into Raven, I am looking at level 20 Ravens with 32 hits, which is pretty impressive. Now, of course, I have Summon Skill Charm, so let's take these off just for the time being. Just so we can get a better idea, utilizing, say, a Torch, a Nihilist Charm. I've got on a Spirit, a Jalal's. Most of this is pretty common. I don't have any rings or amulet on, but I do have an Arachnids, which could take the place of the amulet for right now. I don't even have a +2 armor on, and even then I'm still looking at a level 11 Ravens with 22 hits, which is not bad at all. That's really not bad at all, which means that, you know, they're going to stick around for quite some time until I recast them. And recasting them is super easy. You can do so in werewolf, bear, or human form. And as soon as you hit the cap, you notice that 1 will disappear when you cast the next because only 5 are allowed to be up. As far as the Ravens go, there's really not a lot more to talk about with these guys. They definitely have gotten some nice buffs. But, you know, are you going to work these into your particular build? I don't know. Do you specifically need the blinding effect? Is the extra damage that they provide something that you would like to have? Are you going to build Summon Spirit Wolf, Summon Dire Wolf, Summon Grizzly? As a full Summon Druid, these are definitely an interesting choice to add additional damage to your build. But I do feel like we need to talk about one other thing, which is the fact that they're physical damage. So as a summon druid, you have the bear, which is physical damage. You have the dire wolves, which is physical damage, and you have the ravens, which is physical damage, and then you have the summon spirit wolves, which is cold damage. Adding the ravens into the mix doesn't really solve any issues. It just gives you more physical damage. And you might be asking yourself, well, is that really such a bad thing? And the answer to the question is yes, it really is. I mean, stacking on one particular element as high as you can possibly get it isn't really going to fix things for you. If I was a shapeshifter, I mean, a elemental druid, for instance, that only had fire damage, I'm not going to get very far. But the fire damage tree also has physical damage in it, which means that I have two elements here. The hurricane tree has physical and cold damage, so it has two elements. I can't really rely specifically on the summon spirit wolves to kill things for me because the amount of cold damage that they put out isn't that impressive. In fact, if I show you guys real quick, the amount of damage per wolf is about 883 to 903, so probably about an average of like 890, and we're talking about 5 wolves, so 890 times 5. So you're looking at about 4,450 damage per rotation, which is pretty low considering that you're kind of relying on these guys as your non-physical base damage effect. And it does become a little bit of an issue that you have only physical damage in this tree. You can, of course, try and get yourself another effect, like, for instance, like I said, amplify damage or decrepify in the form of maybe like a mercenary with Reaper's Toll, or maybe you have Adamus Scarab on, or there's a couple different ways that you can get your hands on amplify damage effects. But in general, what you're going to find out is that the ravens overwriting your amplify damage and decrepify might not necessarily be the best thing when you're trying to kill a physically immune monster. I think that's pretty much everything for ravens. I can't really think of much else to go off of with this. They're rather simple. It's a rather simple skill, It's the ability to summon little birds that come and peck the eyes out of your foes, and they do their job very well. They won't screen monsters. They won't stop them from attacking you, but they will dish out some damage and give you some utility in return. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when I'm a little raven perched on your shoulder and pecking your eyes out. And as always, keep watching.